حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has wired the human being as such that he cannot serve two masters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ مِّن قَلْبَيْنِ فِي جَوْفِهِ. And Allah has not made for any one man two hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made for any one man two hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not equip human beings with the faculties to serve anyone but Him. This is important to understand in this climate that we are living in today, clothed in modernity and technological advancements, where shirk, where idolatry has taken more subtle forms and has driven a wedge between man and his own soul and man and his creator. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That I did not create the human being and the jinn, or the jinn and the human being, except to worship me. That is our sole purpose for being here, to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everything and everyone else is secondary. Our primary goal, primary purpose is to serve our Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the service that we give to humanity, whether starting with our family, our children, our communities, and the rest of humanity as a whole, is an extension of our servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is especially important for people in positions of leadership, that our job is to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then serve humanity to the best of our ability. Our sole purpose of existence is to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and this is the only reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. In this postmodern society that we live in today, the commodity of spiritual freedom is constantly being tested. Constantly we are being tested. Our spirituality is being tested by our own souls, by the lifestyles that we live, by the people that we welcome or give access to our lives. Constantly our servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being tested. Every interaction, every relationship that we enter into becomes a battle for our souls. I mean, even our jobs are supposed to be 8 hours, and then employers expect you to take your job home with you, almost as if they own your entire life. Your partners, whether spouses, husbands and wives, it's almost as if when I married you, that I was giving you my soul. Maybe you got it twisted. I wasn't giving you my soul. I was giving you a commitment. My soul is a package deal that comes along with me, but I'm not giving that to you. You don't own my soul. You don't own me. I gave you a commitment that I would work with you together to get to paradise, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala along our journey. But I think that sometimes in our relationships, people get it twisted. Sometimes men will, divorce a woman and then infringe on her life when she decides to move on with her life, almost as if she doesn't have a right to move on. Threatening her husband, threatening her, threatening to take the children away as if you own her life. And vice versa with women. We have a God complex in that we believe that when we get into a relationship with someone, we believe that we own them. And there are no boundaries. And so every relationship becomes a fight for our souls. Simply because postmodern society comes with this newfound self-importance and entitlement. Everyone feels entitled, right? And what I mean by that is that, religious values and morals no longer have a place in our society. And therefore, to hold on to these things, to hold on to these ethics, to hold on to these principles and values from our religion is to challenge a system that turns average men into indentured servants. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٌ الْقَابِضَ عَلَى دِينِهِ القابض على دينه كالقابض على جمر من النار. He said, perhaps there will come a time upon people where a person holding on to his religion, religious values and traditions and principles will be akin to a person trying to hold a piece of hot coal in his hand. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned in another hadith, اعتمروا بالمعروف وتناهوا عن المنكر حتى إذا رأيتم شح مطاع وهوى متبع وإعجاب كل ذي رأي برأيه والدنيا مؤثرة فعليكم بخاصة نفسك ودع عنك الأوام فإنما ورائكم أيام الصبر الصابر على دينه كالقابر على جمر. The Prophet ﷺ said, and continue to enjoy what is good and forbid what is evil until you start to see people driven by their desire not to be poor, driven by their desire, stinginess, shuh al-muta' wa hawa al-muttaba', and people following their desires. No one follows Quran and Sunnah anymore. Principles, values that are laid out in our religion, that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum sacrificed their lives to make sure that information, was passed on from generation to generation. Today, we just toss it aside like it's nothing. We say, the Prophet ﷺ didn't do that, or didn't do this, or didn't say that, didn't say this. Oh, that was during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. That's our response today. Hawa muttaba', following your desires, with dunya mu'thara, and you're giving precedence to the dunya over your deen. Wa i'jab kulli dhi ra'yin bi ra'yihi, and everyone so amazed with their own personal opinions about things, even if you don't have any knowledge about the matter. You post something on Instagram, post something on Facebook, everybody got an opinion, even though you have studied absolutely anything about the matter. But you got an opinion. This entitlement. He said, when you see these times coming upon you, عَلَيْكُمْ بِخَاصَةِ أَنفُسِكُمْ, then focus on yourself. وَدَعْ عَنْكَ الْأَوَامِ, and leave the lay people alone. فَإِنَّمَا وَرَائِكُمْ أَيَّامُ الصَّبْرِ, because after these times, there will be days that require much patience. And a person being patient on his religion is like a person trying to hold a piece of hot coal in his hand. The Prophet ﷺ warned us that there would come a time where a man would sell his own religion for dunya, for the world. يَبِيعُ دِينَهُ بِعَرْضٍ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا, he would sell his soul. And what does it mean to sell your soul? That means to go against your principles, go against your values, go against the things that you know that you are supposed, everything your shahada stands for. And you will sell that for a cheap price. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't sell ahdillahi bi thamanin qalila, and don't trade or sell your contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a small, measly price. For just a share of the dunya, we'll sell our soul for it. Meanwhile, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُم بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةَ, that Allah has purchased from the believers their souls and their wealth in exchange for paradise. But that commerce, that business transaction is not important to us. We want instant gratification, immediate gratification. And sometimes we'll sell our religion to do that. This is the climate that we are living in now. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us in the Quran that everything about us belongs to Him. Constantly reaffirming this idea that we belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our sole purpose for being here is belonging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قُلْ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ وَالنُّسُكِ وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. Say, O Muhammad, indeed my salat, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, my death, lillahi rabbil alameen, belongs all to Allah, rabbul alameen, la sharika lah. No partners in that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Hadith al-Qudsi, Ya ibn Adam, inni khalaqtuka li nafsi. O child of Adam, I created you for me, and I created everything else for you. So based upon my right over you, don't busy yourself, preoccupy yourself with the things that I created for you instead of the one whom I created you for. Don't lose sight of that. And so, Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah ta'ala, in a very beautiful line of poetry, he said, فَلِوَاحِدٍ كُنْ وَاحِدٍ فِي وَاحِدٍ أَعْنِي سَبِيلَ الْحَقِّ وَالْإِيمَانِ هذه الثلاث مسعدات للذي قد نالها والفضل للمنان فإذا هي اجتمعت لنفس حرة بلغت من العليا كل مكان. Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentioned in this line of poetry, Nuniyya, he said, فَلِوَاحِدٍ, so for the love of one, كُنْ وَاحِدٍ, be one, فِي وَاحِدٍ, in the path that leads to one, in one path, أَعْنِي سَبِيلِ الْحَقِّ وَالْإِيمَانِ, I mean the path of faith and sincerity. سَبِيلِ الْحَقِّ وَالْإِيمَانِ, the path of truth and the path of sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, if these three things, for the love of one, be one, in the path that is one, if these three things are gathered or united for a soul that is free, لِنَفْسٍ حُرَّةٍ, your soul has to be free. بَلَغَتْ مِنَ الْعُلْيَا كُلَّ مَكَانٍ, then he will be superior in every single environment he finds himself in. That is what Tawheed has been designed to do, elevate the human being. Elevate the human being. And where's all of this talk of Tawheed amongst us? Where's the elevation? Where's the elevation? In certain inner cities, the Muslims in many inner cities are the biggest criminals in many of the inner cities. And these are the same individuals, long beard, prostration mark, thobe wearing, criticizing, condescending. And yet, your behavior has not changed. From the moment you converted to Islam up until this very moment, not much about you has changed. Where is the practical application of Tawheed? Where is monotheism in motion? When they came to the Prophet ﷺ's house and they asked about him, Aisha said, "Ala taqra'una al-Quran? Don't you read the Quran? Kana khuluquhu al-Quran." His character was the Quran. Where is that? This is a question I'm throwing out there rhetorically for us to take a look at ourselves. If we want to move mountains, that doesn't happen by physical strength. That happens by our submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more we submit to Allah, the stronger we get. Opposite of what disbelievers believe, the more I separate and distance myself from God, the more liberated I am, the more free I am. And Islam is the opposite. Our strength is measured by our level or degree of submission. The more you submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise you. من تواضع لله رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. The Prophet ﷺ said, he who humbles himself before God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise you in degrees. The more we submit, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises us. That is our methodology. That is our program as Muslims. That is our principle, our practice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a metaphor in the Quran by alluding to the conflict that many of us find ourselves in, or find ourselves grappling with today, trying to balance our servitude to Allah and our servitude to others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا رَجُلًا فِيهِ شُرَكَاء مُتَشَارِكُونَ وَرَجُلًا سَلَمَ لِرَجُلٍ هَلْ يَسْتَوِيَانِ مَثَلًا وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah puts forth a metaphor for you. ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا. Allah puts forth a metaphor for you. Pay attention to this. He said, a man who belongs to multiple gods, trying to serve multiple gods. رَجُلًا, belonging to many gods, trying to serve this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. وَرَجُلًا سَلَمَ لِرَجُلٍ. And then there's another man who only submits to one individual. هَلْ يَسْتَوِيَانِ مَثَلًا. Are these two examples alike? Are they equal? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَلْ حَمْدُ لِلَّهِ. All praise is due to Allah. بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most of them have no knowledge. Most of them don't even understand. Most of them don't understand the metaphor. You can't serve and worship more than one master. You have to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And that has manifestations. You can see that manifest in your life once you understand that. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he freed Bilal. And after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bilal, much like many of the Sahaba, was so impacted by the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he decided to move to the area of Sham, the area of Syria, where many of the Sahaba migrated to the area of Damascus after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Abu Bakr called Bilal and said, we need you here in Medina to call the adhan. Bilal looked at Abu Bakr and he said, إِنْ أَعْتَقْتَنِي لِنَفْسِكَ فَأَمْسِكْنِي. He said, if you freed me for yourself, then I'll stay. He said, وَإِنْ أَعْتَقْتَنِي لِلَّهِ فَدَعْنِي. But if you freed me for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then let me go. You don't own me. If you freed me for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then let me go. Because sometimes people, not in this situation, but I'm saying in general, sometimes people do things, but there's strings attached. Ain't no strings attached. If you do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are no strings attached. If you divorce the woman, you divorce the man for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no emotion, no strings attached. The hurt feelings, the emotion, the pain that I'm experiencing, that's my journey. And it's not right to superimpose that on somebody else. Yeah, the person may have caused you the pain, but once they cause you the pain, it becomes your responsibility to deal with it. That's now your journey. We want to take everybody along with us in the journey. I'm not going to forgive you. I'm not going to let this go. I'm going to try to inflict as much pain on you as you inflicted on me. Here again, you become the very same thing that you hate. You are no different than he is. You are no different than she is. Be careful with hate. You become the very thing that you hate. We have to learn how to cut people loose and continue on with our journey by ourselves. You were raised by yourself, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you life. You're going to die by yourself. You will be resurrected by yourself. You will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be questioned all by yourself. There's no taking anybody along with you in your journey, and some of us are just so intimidated by treading the path by ourselves. We just can't do it. We got to take everybody along with us. Yusuf alayhi salam, after all of what his brothers did to him, when they finally realized that was Yusuf, Yusuf said to them, "La tathriba alaykum al-yawm yaghfir Allahu lakum." I will not hold you. I'm not going to blame you for everything that you did to me, because then that would make me no different than you. I'm the king of Egypt at this point. You understand? The pain that you caused me actually elevated me. I should be thanking you for what you did. Makes no sense when you are in a higher position to still extract retribution on an individual that harmed you. As one of the scholars said, that if you have the ability to extract retribution on an individual that harmed you, you have the ability to do that, then make your gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your forgiveness of the person. The fact that Allah gave you a higher position to do that to the person, to respond to the person, I'm going to forgive you as a sign of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving me that position. Look at what the Prophet ﷺ did with the people of Mecca. When he conquered Mecca, they said, they begin copping, please, don't do this. You're the son of the honorable, you're honorable. The Prophet ﷺ said, what do you think I'm going to do to you today? He said, اذهبوا فأنتم طلقاء. Go, you're free. I'm not going to hold you accountable. Because it's not what the pain that you caused me, that's now my journey. I have to deal with that. But this whole idea of trying to serve more than one master is going to tire us out. You belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more you understand that, the more that will manifest in your life. You'll stop allowing people, places, things control you and put you in this box to put this in this box to make themselves feel comfortable. I don't belong to you. I don't belong in your box. I want to always disappoint you because I belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We always want to be a part of the crowd and, agreeable with everybody. We don't know how to stand alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Ibrahim a ummah, a nation by himself, and he was one individual. Inna Ibrahim kana ummah. Ibrahim was a ummah, he was a nation. And the scholars of tafsir said that the reason why he did this was so that the person on the path of truth doesn't feel slighted when he sees how few people are on the path of truth, and so that you are not deceived by the amount of people, the many of people, the plethora of people on the path of falsehood. Don't be deceived by numbers. When you see with the lens of spirituality, you see quality, not quantity. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بما جاء فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم أقول ما تسمعون أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إقرارا به وتوحيدا وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سراجا منيرا. So when you realize that you can't serve two masters, be it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your desires, as Allah says in the Quran, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Do you not see the one who has taken his desires as his God besides Allah? Whether it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your desires, whether it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your material possessions or your worldly pursuits, as the Prophet ﷺ said, Ta'isa abdul dinar, ta'isa abdul dirham, humiliation upon the worshipper of the dinar, the worshipper of the dirham. Why did he say the worshipper? Because your love, as the scholars say, your love of a thing will cause you to worship it. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, Ta'isa abdul dinar, humiliation upon the worshipper of the dinar, the worshipper of money, the worshipper of the dirham. Abdul Khamisa, the worshiper of clothing, the cloak worshiper. Humiliation. Ta'isa wa intakasa. May he experience humiliation and maybe never be gratified or satisfied. If you notice, when you chase the dunya, you're almost like insatiable. You're never satisfied. The more you get, the more you want. This is dua of the Prophet ﷺ upon the person who takes these things as his Lord, as his God, serving these things more than he serves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you realize that you can't serve two masters, you come to a crossroad where you have to make a choice. That if you are going to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's going to require all of you. Allah doesn't want a portion of you or part of you. Allah wants all of you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Hadith al-Qudsi, أَنَا أَغْنَى شُرَكَاءَ عَنِ الشِّرْكِ. I am the one that is in least need of a partner. He says, so whoever does a deed and he associates a partner in that deed with me, تَرَكْتُهُ فَشَرَكُهُ, I will abandon him and his shirk. I don't want a portion. I want all of you. And some of us are just really not committed to that point. And I get it. It's a journey. It takes time to get to that point. But at least we have to start thinking along those lines. We have all of these distractions, all of these temptations, our social circle, our desire for money and wealth and the high living. All of these things become distractions in our pursuit, in our journey of higher degrees of spirituality. And some of us have settled. Mediocre Muslims. We've settled with the 5 daily prayers. We've settled with fasting the month of Ramadan. But are not going to go past that point. And then there are some bold individuals from amongst us who have decided that this is my path, this is my journey. I belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care how you feel. I don't care whatever box you put me in, because I'm not responsible for how you feel about me. That's your opinion. Those are your feelings. You are responsible for it. I can care less. I'm on my journey. And that journey doesn't stop until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls me back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينُ. Worship your Lord until death comes to you. Until yaqeen comes to you. Certainty, meaning death here in this ayah. That's it. So once you kind of reach this crossroad, we have to make a choice. There are some examples that we need to be aware of as it relates to, the inconspicuous shirk, the minor, subtle forms of shirk that we see happening today in the Muslim world. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّ أَخْوَفَ مَا أَتَخَوَّفُ عَلَى أُمَّتِي الْإِشْرَاكِ بِاللَّهِ أَمَا إِنِّي لَسْتُ أَقُولُ يَعْبُدُ شَمْسًا وَلَا قَمَرًا وَلَا وَثَنًا وَلَكِنْ أَعْمَالٍ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ وَشَهْوَةٍ خَفِيَّةٍ. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, listen to this hadith. He said, the thing that I fear the most for my ummah, the thing that I fear the most for my ummah is al-ishraq billah, is associating partners with Allah. This is where it gets deeper. He said, I'm not talking about an individual worshiping the sun or an individual worshiping the moon, because that is the way Tawheed is taught today in many instances, in many regards. You're giving us this whole rundown about idol worship and worshiping graves, and most of these concepts are foreign to us because we come from a society where we've never even seen that. Those books, those examples, those concepts were written for an entirely different culture. Yet we are so hung up in that we can't even see the subtle shirk and the examples that we can connect people to that go on in our owns. Cultural apostates. We immerse ourselves in somebody else's culture, believing that we got it all figured out. Meanwhile, we're neglecting an entire culture. We're neglecting to serve an entire culture, a culture that we come from. He said, I'm not talking about a person, يَعْبُدُ الشَّمْسِ وَيَعْبُدُ قَمَرًا وَلَا وَثَنًا. I'm not talking about a person who worships the sun, worships the moon, worships idols. This is the Prophet ﷺ saying this. I'm not talking about that type of shirk. He said, لَكِنْ أَعْمَالًا بِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. He said, but I'm talking about deeds that will be done for other than the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Deeds from my ummah that will be done for other than the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهَوًا خَفِيًّا وَشَهْوَةً خَفِيًّا. And, subtle desires, subtle following of your desires, meaning that you make your desire your God. You obey your desire. These are subliminal messages that are supplanted into our subconscious as we grow up in this society. We don't understand the professors and, the degree holders that study human behavior, that work with huge corporations to indoctrinate us, to turn us into nothing more than consumers. We don't understand. I might be speaking a completely different language. I might actually be condemned for talking about that in the khutbah. That's how distant we are from reality. But how do you have a whole society, right, who is plotting on its citizens turned them into nothing more than consumers. All of the holidays, which started off as religious holidays, have now been commercialized. And now Target and Walmart and all these different corporations are in on it. You don't see what's happening. You don't see the capitalism that is, immersed into our society, embedded into our society. It's a wonder that we don't learn anything about economics in school. No, we don't learn anything. The whole 12 years of school, we learn zero about establishing your own business and becoming an entrepreneur and all of the skills. They removed all of the VOTEC schools, VOTEC things from the high schools, in the inner cities. And then who do you think it's all of these big jobs of building jobs, construction jobs? Where do you think those jobs go to? Understand how these things work. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the thing that I fear the most is not worshiping the sun, worshiping the moon, worshiping, idols. I fear people doing deeds for other than the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Relationships that will be formed only because I want to support my brand, only because I want to move up in a position within a corporation or within an organization or within an institute. These are while relationships are formed and made. It's not about love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say that, but we don't even have a concept of love. And you love me for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't even have a concept of love. Our relationships are based upon moving ahead, moving forward, pushing my brand forward. Not because I actually enjoy your content, not because I actually respect you as a real individual. Very few and far in between. He said, but deeds that will be done for other than the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَشَهْوَةً خَفِيَّةً, and insignificant, subtle desires that will be followed, whereby a person will make his desires his God. In ending, the Prophet ﷺ, just want to give you another example. During the trial of Aisha, radiallahu anha, when she was accused of adultery, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captured this entire story in surah number 24 in the Quran, Surah An-Nur. During this story, Aisha radiallahu anha, she lost a necklace or a bracelet, and it belonged to her sister Asma. She went to look for the necklace, the caravan pulls off and leaves her. She's looking around for the necklace or the bracelet, and she falls asleep under a tree and, tired, exhausted for looking for it. One of the Sahaba who kind of hang back a little bit, he hangs back to make sure if anybody drops anything, he'll find it. His horse comes upon this figure laying on the ground, and part of her niqab was draping off of her face, so he could see one side of her face, and he recognized that it was Aisha because he saw her before the women were commanded to cover themselves. So he waited patiently until Aisha woke up and had the horse or the camel kneel. Aisha got on the camel, he never touched her, and he walked the camel back to Medina. Watch for the hypocritical behavior. Because the hypocrite is the one who sits and waits and watches for the fall, waits for the door of opportunity to create fitna. She comes into Medina on the back of the camel, the guy's walking the camel, and Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, the chief of the hypocrites in Medina during that time, sees the opportunity. Got one. I can finally now tarnish the honor of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after he's tried on many occasions. I'm identifying, I'm highlighting, accentuating the behavior, if you pay attention. He goes now and he says, the only reason that she's on the horse or the camel with this guy is probably because they're sleeping together. Because that's all it requires is a suggestion. Because that's what Shaitan does. He whispers and then he retreats. Suggests and then retreats. Shaitan. If you function on the lower levels of spirituality, then you become a portal for demonic energy. That's who you are. That's what you represent. So then the word begins to spread around Medina that Aisha slept. Obviously, when it passes on from one person to the next, by the time it gets to the 5th, 6th, 7th person, it's something totally different. Shaitan is all in the mix. So then it goes from her his suggestion to now she's sleeping with this man. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala withholds revelation for 40 days to test the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to see if he's going to speak before revelation is revealed to him. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never spoke out in defense of her because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not reveal anything for him. He had to bear that. He had to stand in that discomfort. That people are talking about your wife, accusing your wife of adultery, and he had to stand in that discomfort. Can you imagine? The leader of the community and everyone in the community, most people in the community are talking about your wife being accused of adultery. And you don't have the wherewithal to defend her because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hadn't given you permission yet to do so. Subhanallah. Allah defined him, Allah clarified that he does not speak except when revelation comes to him. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He does not speak from his own accord. He speaks only when revelation is revealed to him. And then finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exonerates Aisha, reveals the ayats, scolding the believers, scolding those who were responsible for this lie. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, as she narrates the story, she said, all I do is I would wake up, cry, go to sleep, wake up and cry some more. She was a young girl, 14, 15 at the time, and she's the center of all of this controversy in the community. She never blamed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can look at her during that trial and that situation to see what a 14, 15-year-old girl and of that caliber, how she managed to deal with a trial and tribulation so, impactful. And then finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the ayah exonerating Aisha. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam walks into the home and he reveals the verses from Surah An-Nur that was revealed about Aisha. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said, Subhanallah, kuntu adhunnu anna an-nabiy sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yara shay'an fil manam. She said, Subhanallah, I thought that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would see something in a dream that would have exonerated me. He said, what? She said, وَالشَّأْنِ فِي النَّفْسِ أَهْوَنْ أَنْ يُنَزِّلَ اللَّهُ subhanahu wa ta'ala آيَاتٍ تُتْلَى إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فِيهَا. She said, never would I have ever seen myself worthy of Allah revealing verses that will be recited about me until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Never. Who am I for Allah to reveal? Look at the humility. She said, I thought that he would have saw something in a dream. Never did I ever believe myself to be worthy of Allah revealing verses about me in this final revelation that will be recited until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Aisha's mother, Roman, she said, Ya Aisha, kummi ila Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa shukrihi. Aisha's mother, Roman, she said, Aisha, get up and go thank the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Here's where the Tawheed comes in. Get up and go thank the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Aisha said, Kalla wallahi, la akumu ilayhi abadan, la ashkur illa Allah. She said, no, by Allah, I'm not going to stand up and go thank him. For what? I only thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that very moment. In that very moment, you can see the manifestation of Tawheed. She said, no, I'm not going to get up and go thank him. I only thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La akumu ilayhi abadan. She said, I will never get up and thank him. I only thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is someone who understands that although you assisted in that as much as Allah allowed you to, my thanks ultimately goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That doesn't dismiss the hadith of, he who does not thank the people don't thank Allah. But the gratitude, the heartfelt gratitude, that belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I appreciate what you did and I'm grateful for what you did, but you don't get my heart. My heart is not up for grabs in this situation. My heart still belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can verbally thank you. I can really feel that, the sense of, indebtedness to you because of what you've done. But my thanks, my gratitude, my heart pumps for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hope that's clear. And in our lives, we're going to constantly be tested. With our friends, with our children, with our spouses. We're going to constantly be tested. And you have to always keep in the back of your mind, I belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لا تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم إنا نسألك حبك وحب من يحبك وحب عملا يقربنا إلى حبك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على عبدك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله